And welcome to this Tuesday's Bridge Show. Oh, we have some special treats for you today. The huge corporation which is based around the grass valleys of this world, live from Montreal. This is going to be a show you want to follow. So let the show begin. And welcome to this live episode from the basement of our Oslo-based HQ in our IP studio. Oh my goodness, it's another Tuesday, and welcome. We have a special guest which is live from Montreal. Welcome, Abdel.
Hi, Simon. How are you? Thanks for having me in your wonderful show.
Oh,
I don't know if you know that, but I'm one of your YouTube subscribers.
Oh, great. I love it. Abdel, that is very, very courteous. And let that be a lesson to all of you out there. Please subscribe, you too. We want our subscribers. Oh, that's very good. So that means that you've actually seen some shows then, Abdel?
Yeah, absolutely. Not all of them, but sometimes when I receive notification, I go through the show and it's really interesting. I like it.
Oh,
and thanks for the initiative.
No, but you know, it's very important, and that's why we are so lucky to have you, our partners, also on board on this show, because it gives you, us and you, also the opportunity to talk about, you know, all this pretty important stuff that we have all around us, but that usually either you have to come and see it at the site, and of course we can't do that for quite a while, or we then have to have a forum where we can discuss some of the niceties, which is exactly what we're going to do today.
Absolutely, absolutely, I agree with that.
Because, you know, you are actually one of the leading guys in Grass Valley when it comes to control systems. And I believe control systems is the main topic of the day. And it's got a very nice name. I love it to death. And it's called the Orbit, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Let me introduce myself for people who
thank you, Abdel.
Yeah, so I'm actually product owner at Grass Valley for control systems, including GV Orbit, which is our real-time dynamic system orchestrator. Which is used for control, configuration, and monitoring for SDI, hybrid, and pure IP networks. So I'm actually responsible for the control aspect of it. GV Orbit basically is, as I mentioned, system orchestrator based on microservices architecture available on one RU COT server or virtual machine. It's up to you. And the goal behind GV Orbit is to help you control and automate things that usually take a long time. So that's something that we really care about, and we put a lot of effort in there.
Well, I can imagine, because, you know, a control system is pretty strict, again, in the core of any kind of broadcast operation, or else it will be a lot of repetitive tasks. Changing configurations is very, very hard if you have to go to, you know, manually through all the different devices that you have. And this goes for any kind of network, you know, either it's IP or SDI or a combination.
Absolutely. And you can imagine that today's devices are not only used for one application, they are used for multiple applications. So if you have to go through those one by one, manually doing the changes, imagine when you change the application, you need to redo all that work again and again and again.
Yeah.
It's very tedious, error prone. No one wants that. It's just mess. So that's why with GV Orbit, we keep the focus on automatic workflows and make sure that you don't repeat a task that you already done once. And we don't even let you do those manual tasks.
No, but you mentioned that, and that's a very good, very good reason, because again, it's prone to fail, and of course, it's much safer if you have an established rule set and configurations that you already have validated, that you can recall again and again and again. That's of course obviously more safe than to doing manual configurations on the fly.
Yeah, absolutely. And we work with other third-party devices using the existing standards, making suggestions as well, to make those concerns taken into account as part of the standards and not stay as best practices, because as you know, most of those are only best practices, and the standards are focused on the devices themselves, not the control systems. No. It has been a year now that NMOS controllers, well, not necessarily NMOS controllers, but within the NMOS specifications, we added the some testing and some specifications for NMOS controllers, which was not the case before. And everyone working on those devices understand now that there are a lot of challenges on the control side, and those needs to be worked out.
Absolutely, and again, they need to be coherent, and that is where these kind of where the industry comes together, and I believe that the AIMS and the Joint Network Task Force initiatives of doing these interops before the big shows, before NAB typically there's one, and before IBC it's typically one, has been very important to get the industry together and actually test out a lot of these theoretical models in practice, and then build the reality around that.
Absolutely. Thanks to the GTNM for those initiatives. As you mentioned, there are at least 2 workshops. I like the name, Dirty Hands Workshop that we call those. I really like that name. And we have, as I mentioned, at least 2 times a year where we have multiple companies in the same room running interop testing, discussing integration issues, brainstorming, challenging the specifications, and especially making things happen, and not just as 2 separate companies with their own implementation and not working together. That's one of the challenges we have. And as you noticed, the pandemic, there was no real events. There were only virtual events. So those are great, but still not the same as the in-person ones.
No, it's you're right, and also I love the name as well, Dirty Hands, because you then get your hands dirty, and it doesn't matter, because if something doesn't work, well, that may be actually even better, because you can get them to work, and you can then work together with the best of the best in the industry to get everything to a mature level. And I must say that without those kind of 5 years now of good, decent interops with focus, especially on interoperability of 2110, but especially control systems, the NMOS standard has evolved very fast. And now everybody uses the ISO 4 and ISO 5 specification to interoperate all their equipment, and it's fabulous. It works fantastically.
Absolutely. So in Grass Valley, it's all about the ecosystem. So we make sure that everything works together with solid integration for our devices. And we take exactly the same approach when we build custom drivers for, to integrate third-party devices to our system. So as you know, not everybody can build every existing product. No. So that's the reality. And we have to make those third-party devices work within our ecosystem with the same level of requirement. And that's where NMOS comes in. So as you mentioned, it has drastically changed the way we use to integrate third-party devices to our ecosystem. Today, and for quite a while now, since we were part of those interops since the beginning, instead of building, custom drivers for each new device, we have one single driver, the NMOS driver, that rules all those devices. So we use ISO 4, as you mentioned, for discovery, ISO 5 for connection management and control. And I want to mention that we don't just discover, display, these devices and do peer-to-peer communication between those devices. That's not orchestration. No. That's only NMOS discovery, through NMOS Explorer. That's only a basic part of the equation. Exactly. Yeah, and in our orchestration system, if you allow me the analogy, what we try to do is basically use those NMOS resources as Lego pieces that we put in together to build something bigger.
Yeah. No, but that is the right kind of mentality on the framework as well, because again, it has to have the duality of first of all, a control system, of course, must control things. That's in nature, but it also has to be very respectful of the dialogue from the third-party system, so that they actually can control the right things, and also then the granularity of control gets better. Because as you say, this is all about orchestration. Because one thing is to control a parameter or two, but then you really want to orchestrate so that you can then do whatever configuration change based on the reality from even different standards. If you run, one day 1080 P50, and then the next day you run a 4K
Absolutely.
P50.
Absolutely. NMOS ISO 4 and ISO 5 specifications are great, but those are only specifications, are only guidelines.
Exactly.
The guidelines by definition, they don't cover everything that happens.
No.
So it doesn't cover all the ecosystem pieces. What I mean by that, NMOS devices, NMOS controllers, network switches, and so on and on. So those specifications don't cover all the aspects of discovery, and it has been years now that we realized that there are some gray areas in those specifications that could lead those manufacturers to have their own implementation, but still follow the specification.
Exactly.
That's the paradox. So you could have, let's say, device A and device B. Device B could be another node or NMOS controller, both with a 5-star implementation, NMOS implementation, and both with those, fancy GTNM badges, but not operating properly within a specific system.
Yeah.
So how would you justify that to your customer that, I have my certification, but I'm not able to operate with devices? It just doesn't make sense anymore today.
No.
It could be very frustrating for system integrators or our customers.
Absolutely, and that is always the drawback, because one thing is that we have to provide the fundamentals of the specification so that again you have true interoperability, and then you can build on top of that private communications channels which can build upon the foundations. But you must never destroy or go too far on the foundation itself, or else you, exactly as you say, you land with interoperability problems, and that is the whole purpose. Is interoperability with NMOS. There's no other purpose.
Absolutely. And in those events that you mentioned, GTNM events, and you know that very well since your teams participate to those multiple times. And as I mentioned, you have engineering teams from different companies spending the whole week, working to make beep happens.
Yeah.
And I personally find those very useful and very productive. And more than that, you build relations with other R&D teams.
Yes.
You have contact names, email, so you can later reach out directly to those guys without necessarily going through VPs, director, and higher upper management.
Yes.
Of course, your answers. You have answers faster than as everyone knows everyone. And of course, later in the day during those events, you share dinner with those guys, a couple of beers, and start learning how to deal with each other.
Yeah, it's as you say, it's very, very good on so many planes. And again, I also like the example. That's when engineers have their, know each other. Problem solving can happen radically faster than going through a whole organization to actually solve very, very small and very specific issues.
Absolutely.
Because it's also something with the expertise here. This is not easy stuff. This is full of detail. So the best thing is that the engineers which know about it on a deeper level can actually talk together.
Yeah, absolutely. And as you know, since the pandemic, having those workshops live was very challenging.
Yeah.
having those as virtual events is definitely not the same story.
No.
So during those events, I usually have a queue of myself or my colleagues have a queue of people asking to get their devices tested against our control system. So we take time to go through their and our implementation all together. We discuss the all the technical details about that, and if something makes sense, then we escalate it to those concerns, to people working on those specifications, in order to review them and improve the specifications. So personally, I'm that's the part that I miss a lot. I usually hold the list, of devices with their capabilities, limitations, workarounds, and also contact names to follow up on the progress made after the event. So I hope those events will be back pretty soon.
I bet you that they will be back. I have a slight feeling that before IBC this year, there will be, we cross our fingers, a big event in Wuppertal at Riedel's place again. So Thomas, Riedel, if you're listening to this, it's on you now. You invite everybody to this event in Wuppertal. It was a huge success 2 years ago. So please do that, Thomas.
No pressure.
No pressure at all.
and with this global situation, the pandemic, and in order to have exactly something similar to those workshops, we decided last year to hold interop testing in our local labs by reaching out to companies with variety of devices. We basically built a list of devices that we wanted to interop with, based on those are most commonly used by our customers. And BridgeTech VB440 was one of the first successful integrations as a non-Grass Valley device. So I'm not here to flatter you, but
thank you.
I can tell you that this is one of the best integration we have today, and thanks to your engineering team. I would say, what an agile team. That was just crazy. I don't know if you have Tommy. I can describe this situation.
Of course,
I remember that very well. I remember that very well. I reached out to at that time to Stahl, Christopherson at that time, and Martin Crawley as well, and to share with them the intention behind those interop testing. And 2 days later, we were on a Zoom call all together to present both products. So NMOS implementation, discuss it, how we could build a solid integration. A couple of days later, I have received the VB440 unit in my local lab, and I was able to live evaluate the device.
Cool, yeah.
Was just magic happens, And then we had a follow-up meetings with some action items on both sides. And a couple of weeks later, we were able to use the VB440 100% automatically in GV Orbit. That was like unbelievable. So the VB440, basically, you discover it through the NMOS registry. You add it to GV Orbit topology, and it's all done. That's all you need to do, and all your logical devices are created, and you can start sending streams to that receiver. It's it's magic, but magic that we worked on, and that works very well. And I hope other third-party devices are hearing that and want to do the same interrupt testing.
This is a very, very both a nice story, because it all has to do with attitude, with the right attitude. And there was also from our side, our engineering team met you guys, and you had the correct attitude, and you wanted to do it. It wasn't a huge resistance where people are scared and don't want to really go further down the rabbit hole. And it all happened very, very fast. And we have customers, many places. One of the notable customers is of course, NBC Sports, which use the Orbit integration daily. And so this has been very, very successful. And I must congratulate your team as well. That is pretty good stuff here.
Thank you to your teams as well. This wouldn't be possible without your help and their availability. So That's great. I think that's an example in the industry how two different companies could share the same ideas and work together to make something happens.
Yeah, because that's actually what it is all about, and I have some friends which say, you know, that making all this happen, and you said it as well. This is where the pure magic is, because you can actually get stuff to interoperate without issues, and that is so important in our industry, because, you know, complexity is increasing all the time, and we want to make that simple. That's our key goal here.
Yeah, and our customers, they don't care about if you have the GTNM, you know, badging program certified or all that stuff. They want to see those devices working together. They don't really care about that. So the badge is fine, the program is fine. I think it's a good initiative.
Oh yes.
But it's not we should not stop there.
No.
We should go further and do interop testing, and we make sure that we take into account other components of the system. As I mentioned earlier, the control system was not something that devices were taking into account. No. So they were doing peer-to-peer communication, sending commands. Oh, that works fine. That's the only thing that should be caring about. That's not true. Today, as you mentioned, you have that layer of orchestration where your devices are discovered, could be used for custom applications, could be used for creation of custom logical devices for a lot of stuff, not only for one use case that you made sure it's working properly. And as I mentioned, based on the automatic workflows that we are keen to achieve, there are a couple of best practices today that, in my opinion, should be mandatory if you are using control system. So.
No, but absolutely, I totally agree with you, because again, one needs to go further. But I also know that you know, we are also part of the Grass Valley Technology Alliance, and that was also an initiative to be able then to create that already pre-tested ecosystem, so that people have the confidence of going to those vendors and knowing that it will be interoperable, and that also is pretty important.
Yeah, well, you know, today's workflows, and I'm especially thinking about the OB van market trucks. Those need absolutely this dynamic aspect where where a specific device could be used today for application A and tomorrow could be used for application B. And obviously, you don't want to spend hours commissioning your device multiple times that when you change, the site. So you just don't have time for that. No. So we need to put more effort and more love on the dynamic aspect of things, and that's great. That's something that was basically the main focus when we worked with your teams. Yeah. So we wanted to make sure that when you change your configuration, it's all done in GV Orbit automatically, and the user doesn't need to go through that manually change those, which is just great.
Speaking of love, because we love our pieces of culture here, and today we also have the mad musical genius of Axel Kolstad, which basically then is going to perform one of his brilliant pieces. So let's have a short pause and listen to Axel. Take it away. Well,
Wonderful.
I like it. He's pretty crazy. And this time he kept himself to mostly playing, which was, not a bad idea.
Wonderful. I was wondering which team is he supporting for, because he has a lot of jerseys in there.
Absolutely. No, I really don't know, because I think he routes for most of them, to be honest. But he's a very, very good player. He's short to be a baseball man, but he can jump high.
Cool.
No, but Abdel, this has been very, very good, and I would also like for us to continue, and of course, one thing that we agree upon is that we definitely will meet at the next Interop event, which again, Thomas, you're listening, I hope, which will be before IBC this year. And I can't wait to go even further, because I believe that the next phases of orchestration is going to be dramatic and very, very interesting. I can't wait. We're very, very impressed by the orbit system, of course, and would love to see that, go everywhere.
Thank you. And I want to thank people who did work on the NMOS controller specifications, mainly people from CBC, Montreal. It has been a year that I was pushing to get those, included in the GTNM testing program. But the specifications were not that mature at that time, and they wanted to keep the focus on devices. But last year we had a chance to get the first draft of the NMOS controllers testing program, and that was great. That was a start. It's just a journey. This is not the end. It's just the beginning of something that will be great. And on our side, we keep improving our NMOS driver, and I can tell you, there is no secret here. We have new generation of NMOS drivers coming very soon with even more flexibility, capabilities, and of course, more automatic workflows with always, the objective of having zero user configuration.
Exactly. No, but that's the key thing again, because you can then hide a lot of the automation that can actually go on kind of in the background and serve you better by having that, again, granularity. So I'm extremely enthusiastic on those efforts. It's very, very good.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the goal behind GV Orbit. This is just the beginning, even if we did a lot until today. Our main focus today in development, and we have dedicated people for NMOS. It's the way to go. And even in terms of development, it's great because we don't have multiple people working on different custom drivers, which brings value to a specific specific device or a specific customer, where today the value is shared and common to multiple projects, multiple devices, which is great. I really like the initiative. Yeah. I like to call myself the NMOS evangelist. Lead people to put the focus there, and I hope we can have more exciting news and more exciting capabilities in the future.
Absolutely, and it's not very far away to October, where we will be at the NAB show, and I guess that a lot of this is going to be showcased there.
Yeah, we are working on it, so the plans are worked out. So they're gonna be. I guess we can have some communication once it's all set.
Cool. Abdel, I'm so happy that you could join us. This has been a fantastic talk. We will have to repeat that again because things are progressing all the time, and that's super good. But thank you for bringing your enthusiasm and this great understanding of why this is important, because I couldn't agree more with you. This has been very, very good. So thank you for joining the show.
Thank you, Simon. Thank you to your engineering teams and to Tim and all the team. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. And to everybody else out there, I would say, you know, this has been a live broadcast from our IP-based studio in the basement of our company HQ in Oslo, Norway, on a rainy day. And of course, it's sad to have to leave you, but again, the Tuesday is now over. There will be another Tuesday, so don't forget to tune in to the show next Tuesday, same time, same people, same place. And until then, have an absolutely phenomenal day.